All right, everyone, welcome back for another episode of Carnivore Trades. Today's Friday, May 13th, 2022. So markets staging a bit of a rally. I said yesterday they need to prove it. And barring any shenanigans in the next half hour, they pretty much have. I'd like to see it close above 400 here on the SPY. But either way, a nice move here. I thought we would have kind of a trend day, which is basically when you just rally up, gap and go, an uncontested rally. But the bears did come in around 403 here on the spiders, and they pushed it down. And this is actually, in a way, this is actually a little bit more bullish, believe it or not, because if you have like a gap and go trend day, you could make the case that, well, the bears are just letting the market rally so they can get a better price to short. But in this instance, they actually tried to short it. So they came in and they tried to push it down, and so far they've been unsuccessful. So if we continue to push up here a little bit, those people, those traders that shorted up here are going to have to cover, and we should squeeze a little bit more here. So we'll watch that as the spiders are inching up here a little bit. But so far, markets have finally kind of taken that step. Here's VIX coming in. I'd like to see a close below that 20 moving average on the VIX. We'll see what we get here. But we're seeing leadership from certain sectors here. Semiconductors, you can see on my screen there. Nice move up. Really strong pattern intraday, much less of a dip in the afternoon. And again, trying to break it back above this wedge pattern. So nice falling wedge pattern there. I think maybe this time is actually, it's actually going to happen. We tried to break out here, failed, then tried to break down, and then that failed. So here we are. But nice move on the semis, up just under 6%. IGV Cloud Software, nice move there, up 5%. Take a look at this intraday pattern. Beautiful intraday consolidation, gap up, nice upright tight consolidation. So this is a good candidate for a move up into the close. Again, a lot of these sectors just so beaten down. So many stocks so beaten down. Look at Amazon, up 6% or 5.5% rather. We'll look at that move off the lows yesterday. Take a look at ARC, up 12% here. So big move off the lows. We talked about Roblox yesterday, another 15% today. Rivian, again, another move. We talked about Shopify, 10% on Rivian. Shopify up 13%. So again, I've been saying this. These beaten down growth stocks they're gonna rally eventually. Take a look at Zoom here, 12%. They're so beaten down. Eventually, they can't. You're beating a dead horse, right? And when they rally, they're going to be up 12, 15% in one day, and that's what we're seeing here. And I think some of the margin selling, like I said yesterday, these funds that are long short, that's leaking over. So I'm getting margin called on Tesla or Apple or Amazon, and you're short all these shares of Shopify. Well, what are you going to do? You gotta cover that margin call somehow. And so we're kind of seeing a positive feedback loop, a short squeeze, whatever you want to call it, in some of these beaten down growth plays, and that is helping out tech a lot here. And look at Apple. Speaking of big tech, Apple went right down into this support area. This is where you pivoted. This is where the institutional money is sitting, and getting a nice bid here, up 3.5%. A little bit on the, not as strong as some other sectors, not as strong as the semis. Big tech still trying to find its footing, but if that does, and it finds its footing with these beaten down growth plays, we're going to see a good rip your face off rally. And then, again, I talked about this last night. That is kind of the game plan. Jerome Powell speaks on Tuesday. How many of you guys want to bet that he gets kind of dovish all of a sudden, and we rip into OPEX and all those puts get burned out and expire worthless? I mean, I'm not saying it happens. It's really a toss-up. You can't really predict what's going to happen here, but historically, that is the case. When there's an absurd amount of puts in the system and you're going into OPEX like that and everything is oversold, that is kind of, and the same thing the opposite way with call options, right? So not really saying anything groundbreaking here, but that is kind of the setup right now. And if you look at the spiders here, starting to get some follow through, so 402. And closing back above 400, at least that looks like it is poised to do that. Your next area of resistance would be these pivot highs right here, and then you have the gap fill and the 20 moving average, which is down sloping on the triple Qs. Again, here's your pivots right there. You got the gap fill, and then obviously that 20 moving average red bar. That should be resistance. Russell 2000 with a nice move today as well, up 3.5%. We talked about that 50% fib yesterday. I showed you guys that in the video. Tagged that perfectly. And the 200-week moving average. Nice tail candle there on the Russell. Let's look at the triple Qs actually weekly here. Again, there you go, tail candle. Let's look at this. Put the lines back on right into that buy zone I told you guys about. I said this is going to be the buy zone on the triple Qs. That's where it is. Also, 50% fib with a tail candle on the weekly. That looks good. That looks good for a rally next week. All things considered, I really can't say anything otherwise, other than the fact that, the market has just had this rug pulled so many times. But eventually, when, sell the rip works too many times in a row, eventually it's got to fail. So that's just the way things go. There's an ebb and flow in the markets, and nothing goes up or down in a straight line forever. So that's kind of what we're looking at going into next week. All right, let's look at a couple other sectors. So transport's on a little bit on the weaker side. They did hold that 14,000 area yesterday, getting a bounce. But, it's getting a bounce with everything else up 1.42% currently. So a little bit on the weaker side. Again, this is a bit of a tech-led rally, which I don't see as anything bearish, honestly. Tech really needs to be the leader here, as does the Russell 2000. Home builders, again, it's the reason why I said not to chase. Don't chase this short, is because we got a nice reversal yesterday. And, it's going to close back inside of this kind of channel here today. So nice move for XHB. Same thing with ITB and VNQ. I told you guys that max move. That held really well. VNQ up 2.5 today. So that measured move that I had around 93 is looking like it wants to hold up. Should get back up to that 100 handle or somewhere in that range, maybe 99, 100. That's going to be resistance on VNQ. Rates here. So, of course, they couldn't just make it easy. They never do. But we did not close below that green bar low. So no engulfing reversal, though. It still is a really good reversal candle. Don't get me wrong, but it did come off the lows. So maybe rates can hang on here a little bit. A little bit of strength in the 10-year. Now, it did lose that 20 moving average for the first time since really March. So, a little bit of weakness. Again, we know how overbought it is, and maybe it's losing a little bit of steam, but it did come off the low, so we'll give it the benefit of the doubt. HYG managing to scratch out a gain so far. Same thing with JNK, slight, fractionally positive, and LQD coming back in. This one's been weird, so it's almost been kind of inverse to the spiders the last week or so. But very strange to see that coming off the lows here, and now red here as the spiders are green. Next, we have financials, XLF here, getting a bid. So possibly a little morning star reversal there on financials. So gap down, doji, and then a gap up. It could be something that happens here. Not a lot of volume here today on the XLF, but it did reverse. And again, it's more of a tech-led rally today, so we won't leave, we won't make too much out of it. XPD with a powerhouse move, though, up 4%, and trying to get back inside of this wedge here and trying to reclaim that 400 handle by the close. All right, so let's flip over here to Crude Energy here. Crude getting a nice bid, still looking like it wants to, still got to contend with this red bar high here. So we'll see what we get into next week. Interesting little tail candle there, did pop off the 20 moving average, and still inside of this red bar here, but it's also inside of a bigger green bar. Again, Crude is still kind of in shopping mode for right now, so we'll just leave it at that. XLE is nicely green, still inside of that big red bar from the other day. XOP and OIH, same kind of deal, really no big difference there. And Nat Gas also inside of this red bar, so we'll see what kind of pattern we get here on Nat Gas moving forward. Dollar still holding up strong, did pull back off the highs a little bit. I do have a cycle coming up on the dollar next week, so maybe we get a reversal here in the dollar index. We know how overbought it is. It's due for a pullback, so maybe that is a catalyst, and maybe that is a catalyst for the rally. Kind of a short squeeze or a counter trend rally here for the markets, but we'll see what we get. Did pull back off the highs, but still in a strong technical position. Gold here falling a little bit. This should get down. Let's see what's the low here. 17. So I think this has a little bit lower to go, maybe 1775, 1780. That's going to be a good area of support here. But it did come off the highs pretty nicely here. Pretty sharp drop there on gold, all things considered. Silver, same kind of deal, is rallying, but it looks like it's going to lose this trend line here, which goes back quite a while. I think it goes back several years, actually. Yep, so that trend line right there. It is going to lose that on a weekly close, not a monthly close, though, so it's not necessarily dead just yet. Platinum and palladium, both kind of fractionally flattish to lower on the day. And then copper here. All right, copper. So getting a bit off the lows. Let's take a look at the weekly. I still think this has to go down and test $4. but did come off the lows. So maybe it can get a bid next week. Yeah, it is oversold. It did come off the lows nicely. So maybe it can hold up a little bit here. I still think it has to go down and test that 4 handle though. All right, and then crypto, again, we talked about that, this capitulation low potentially yesterday on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is getting a bid today, but off the highs here a little bit. Same thing with Ether, Doge, go down the list, basically the same thing. But all things considered, it had a nice reversal candle yesterday, but it's still feeling the shock waves of the UST and Terra Luna kind of debacle. So maybe a little bit on the weaker side here, but we'll see. This candle should hold here in the near term, and areas on the upside would be about 36,000 on Bitcoin. On Ether, you're looking at 2,500. That is that trend line that we've been following for the last couple of weeks. All right, so flipping back over here to the spiders. There we go. So spiders holding that 400 handle. This coming off the highs a little bit here. We'll see what they do. It looks like they're trying to defend this double top here. We'll see if they hold that 400 handle. So some shorts did come in here in the last 10 minutes. But we'll see what kind of close we get here into the final 20 minutes or so of the day. Anyways, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you all next week.